You like breaking stuff? How about being a villain? Well, you've come to the right place. Yep, we've got a big, beautiful breakdown of the latest Netflix animated movie, Nimona. Grab your pointiest weapon, a slice of pizza, and get ready for a whole bunch of plot lines, Easter eggs, and fun little nods to pop culture. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out here at ChannelFrederator. Right on. Time for the story. A narrator, played by Chloe Grace Moretz, kicks things off, letting us know that a long time ago, a kingdom lived in peace. A scroll pops open, revealing a medieval tale of sorts. A society living, laughing, and loving under cover of blue skies and prosperity. But a monster decided to mess everything up big time. A hero, Glorith, came through and said, "Go back to the shadows from whence you came." And hey, it worked. Glorith wanted the monsters to be afraid. She wanted her people to be safe, and so she set up an elite force of knights and got to work defending for generations. Now, 1,000 years have passed. Things are no longer just medieval, there's also a cyberpunk sheen to everything. A broadcast duo, played by RuPaul Charles and India Moore, catches us up to speed on what's going on. A new knight will be knighted tonight, and it looks like that knight will be a scrappy street urchin who was previously given special attention by the Queen. Ballister, played by Riz Ahmed. He's made it up through the ranks and even outdone the next in a long line of Glorith descendants, Ambrosius Goldenloin. Oh shoot, they've got iPads in this world. The public at large, while excited about a new era of knights not necessarily from royal bloodlines, doesn't seem to trust someone like Ballister. The question is, will they accept him? And to find out that answer, we've got to head on over to the Gloradome, obviously named after Glorith, but also Glory? Up in the rafters sits Ballister, ruminating on the fact that the public doesn't seem to trust like that. But look who it is, Ambrosius, who, by the way, is played by Eugene from the Try Guys. The descendant of Glorith psychs him back up again, reminding Ballister that he is a hero of the realm. Oh, and they're not just homies either. They are romantically entangled. Time for the ceremony. A squire hands out swords to all of the knights-to-be and is particularly persnickety about being the one to remove each weapon. Ambrosius is clad in gold and Bal is in black. This, of course, symbolizes one's royal lineage, and the latter being a sort of black sheep. Thaddeus, aka Todd Sureblade, gives Ballister the business for being a commoner, and the squire hands over Ballister's sword. Bal seems to notice something a little off about the blade, and the squire wants to show him something on his phone, but the general dressing room rabble-rousing prevents any further questions. The director, played by Frances Conroy, calls them all to attention and lets Bal know that today the kingdom will see him for who he truly is. She seems nice. The knights ride out into the Gloradome to meet up with the Queen, played by Lorraine Toussaint. She knights Ambrosius first, and then Ballister heads up to the stand. It seems the Queen has been trying to convince the world that anyone can be a hero for some time now. This is the fruit of her labor. Bal is proclaimed Sir Ballister Boldheart, hero of the realm. Unfortunately, a weird green laser contraption reveals itself from the hilt of his blade and pops the Queen. Ambrosius chops Bal's arm off like a seasoned butcher, which sends the laser up into the Jumbotron. It crashes down, knocking Bal into an underground tunnel which he uses to escape. Our narrator returns and is spray painting "dumb" over the last 3 letters of kingdom. A news bulletin about the Queen Killer plays above some stock prices. Looks like Monster Burger's down this quarter. Some random guy goes out of his way to call this mysterious narrator a freak, so she hits him with some spray paint and heads down to the screens. After hearing sound bites decrying Bal, she decides that he is perfect, and an evil smile crosses her face as she puts her headphones on. We're treated to the title, Nimona, and the real story begins. Seems like Bal and Nimona have similar tastes in music. He's putting together a mechanical arm in a decrepit room full of news clippings about his crime when somebody knocks on the door. Grabbing a busted bottle, he creeps to the threshold all sneaky-like. But when he opens the door, nobody's there. It's revealed that Bal's been living in an old and abandoned tower for the past while as he works on his new arm. He pops back inside, wondering what the hell all that was about, and jump scare! Nimona is in the house. She freaks him out while complimenting his so-called secret lair and displays the uncanny ability to make her face go all monstery. Nimona is looking for a job, specifically to be Bal's sidekick on his quest for revenge. Either that or they can just Talk? Bal is not impressed. She calls him a villain, which he denies, but she's too quick for him to get a word in. His wall of clippings and red marker circles is discovered, and she thinks it's a murder wall. Bal emphatically tells her that he's not a murderer nor a villain, which disappoints Nimona. Turns out the murder wall is full of things that are supposed to prove his innocence. There's even a cute little post-it note that reads, "Sword switch?" Aw. She shows off some of her drawings, which feature a red gorilla going ape, a red octopus doing some strangling, and a red rhino going kebab mode on some guards. I wonder if we'll see these in the future. After exclaiming that he's not gonna get arrested, Bal gets arrested. Funny how that works. The guards take his arm and head off for some lunch. The director arrives and expresses how disappointed she is in Ballister. He tries to argue his innocence and asks to speak with Goldenloin, but is shut down. As he begs for another chance, we get to see a little numpad locking mechanism on the outside of his cell with his face and ID number on it. Looks like Bal is B113774. Wonder what kind of Easter egg that is. If you guys figure that out, let me know. The director takes her leave, shutting the door behind her. Ballister is locked in, alone except for the rats. Or is he? Nimona followed him in, having already come to the conclusion that he'd find himself in a jail cell. Once you're seen as a villain, that's all you'll ever be seen as. At least she brought him his arm. She knows the code to the numpad lock, which incidentally is just smashing it, and also shows that curly fries do exist in this universe. Thank goodness. They leave together, but Bal insists on taking the lead. Nimona wants some murder and break and stuff, which Bal doesn't much appreciate. Right before the music kicks in on a fun little escape montage, Nimona seems to know exactly what the tune's gonna sound like. Does she have the ability to hear non-diegetic sounds, or am I just looking too deeply into this? Who's to say? Bal does his darndest to stay hidden and stealthy, which is quickly undermined by his sidekick's sullen insistence on making a big mess. It's kinda weird how easy it is to escape until the duo come across a pile of guard bodies reminiscent of Donkey playing Hitman. More guards show up and get to chasing though. Apparently there are laser crossbows in this kingdom that fire both lasers and bolts at the same time. Gotta have that fun zap, you know? Nimona has an answer for everything Bal says, and the two carry on bantering like Prime Shrek and Donkey, but with more murder and less parfait references. Bal gets exasperated and sarcastically suggests they murder everyone, and of course this prompts his ex to show up. Ambrosius does kind of sound like a sneeze now that Nimona mentions it. Nimona gets the wrong idea about these two star-crossed knights and whispers Nemesis, which gives Ambrosius the wrong idea about what Bal is doing, which makes Bal feel very sad. Oh. The duo end up in a broom closet and are forced to leave in short order thanks to a guard doing his best Jack Torrance from The Shining impression. "Here's Glorith!" Not wanting to die in a closet, get it? Bal accepts Nimona's help and promises not to get weirded out. He promises, and the monster gal starts doing monster stuff. Rhino time. She even makes a quick Shrek reference. This is the part where you run. It's missing the last word, away, but I'll take it. Rhino Nimona starts rampaging, picks up Bal, and flies right by Ambrosius. And tell me if I'm crazy, but as she runs down the stairs, the distinct sound of a Discord notification plays. Maybe I'm just hearing things. Bal demands to know what's going on and what exactly Nimona is. She's a lot of things. In short order, she poops into an armadillo, a bear, a bird, what appears to be an otter, river or otherwise, a gorilla, an ostrich, and a whale, the last of which sends them careening downwards through multiple floors. They run into a showering Sureblade, and Nimona remarks, "Cold in here?" Fans of George Costanza would recognize shrinkage anywhere. The rhino makes a return as a whole bunch of statues fall, and the duo makes it out of there safe and sound. Mostly. Bal awakens next to a cup of something hot with Nimona making breakfast tacos in the background. He doesn't remember that she did all that animal transforming. She's spruced up the evil air a bit, which inspires a new villain name, Evil Larry. The new and improved murder wall, now featuring Ambrosius at the center, jogs Bal's memory a bit. He works up to calling her a monster, drawing out a quick Italian impression from Nimona, but she warns him not to refer to her as such. Funny, because there's a newspaper clipping right behind them that says as much. Also a homemade poster that reads, "Stab them all." Nimona really does seem to want to help Bal clear his name, but only if she gets to be his sidekick forever and ever, no take-backsies. So he tries to shake her hand and she turns into a shark, getting shades of Darla from Finding Nemo with that one. Back at the castle, the director is trying to get to the bottom of Bal's escape as Ambrosius and frickin' Todd argue back and forth. Seems Todd doesn't know what a rhinoceros is. He also forgets how to count, but really wants to hunt down Bal. But Ambrosius takes on the task, as he feels he is uniquely qualified to track the so-called Queen Killer down. A, he's a descendant of Glorith, and 3, he's Bal's ex. See what I did there? They mount their floating police bikes and zoom across the city looking for anything that will lead them to their disgraced comrade. Meanwhile, Bal and Nimona are trying to figure out a plan to find the squire that handed Bal his blade on the day of the queen's death. Also, Nimona is messing with a rat while in feline form. Bal really wants a normal field trip, but Nimona's like, with the frizz? No way! And sprouts bat wings. The Institute tests out their emergency alert system, prompting everyone in the city to poop their pants before realizing that it was only a test. This inspires some conjecture about the city's wall, which kinda functions like the walls in Attack on Titan. You know, keeps people safe from an unknown threat. Nimona, though, isn't even convinced that there is anything outside, but hey, I guess we won't find out until later. They walk by a kid playing on a Monster Killer grocery store ride and pop down onto the subway via Vanquisher Square Station. A busker is ripping the sax and seems to be playing an alternative version of Careless Whisper. Classic. There's a couple ads on the walls too, one for the Royal Burger and another reveals what they call their phones here, a hololeaf, and they've got a fully realized multi-line subway system. And remember, if you see something, slay something. On their way down an escalator, Bal and Nimona see their beautiful faces on a gigantic wanted poster. There are guards waiting at the bottom, so Bal asks for a distraction. Nimona takes this and runs with it, transforming into Bal and making a big ol' scene. This single-handedly deals with the knights and makes me wonder why becoming one was such a big deal in the first place. They're not too useful. Rat Nimona returns, dragging along a slice of pizza. A shout out to New York legend Pizza Rat, and they hop on the train. Using some horrifying facial recognition technology, the knights locate Bal. His hatred of freestyle jazz really did him in the end. It also seems like the director has noticed something funny about that Pizza Rat. Maybe she's planning on making a brand new meme template. On the train, we learn that there are no laws against advertising sugary breakfast cereal to children in this universe either. Bal begs Nimona to be normal, which doesn't go over too well. He wants her to explain what she is, and Nimona is, well, Nimona. She starts to go into an explanation, beautifully animated in the subway tiles, describing a scene right out of a fairy tale. Turns out she was full of it though, just yanking Bal's chain for asking her small-minded questions. When they arrive at the next station, the knights are already waiting, but Nimona gets out through the roof of the subway car. They're already at the market, and would you look at that, the squire is here too. Nimona transforms into a boy to trick the squire, and Bal almost gets swindled into buying a new car. Nimona starts doing a creepy demon baby thing, and Bal uses his newly acquired, aka stolen car to successfully kidnap the squire. Ambrosius almost stops him, but hesitates at the last second, letting the duo get away with their quarry. Frickin' Todd is not happy. Our criminal squad touches down in a sketchy part of town to question the squire, but Nimona has an arrow in her knee. She used to be an adventurer like you see. They do some good old bonding as Bal cleans up the wound, and Nimona describes how shapeshifting makes her feel free. They question the squire, who can finally show Ballister the footage he meant to show him back on the day of the queen's death. Sure, he was goofing around with Bal's armor, but in doing so, he caught the director replacing his sword with another. The director set him up. Nimona wants to upload it for everyone to see, but Bal doesn't want to damage people's faith in the Institute. You see, it's not the system, it's the person in charge of the system. Replacing them will surely fix everything, right? He's determined to get this information to Ambrosius, so that's the plan. As Ambrosius has a moral crisis of his very own, Bal and Nimona accost him and accuse the director of killing the queen. Before they can show their proof though, frickin' Todd blasts the phone to smithereens. Or I guess it's not a phone, it's a leaf? I don't know. The rest of the guards show up to apprehend our shape-shifting scallywag and her fugitive pal, leaving them in a bit of a bind. One last desperate attempt to convince Ambrosius falls flat because Mr. Golden Boy doesn't like monsters, so Bal finally lets Nimona break stuff. New animals in this fight include a wolfy creature, a punny horse, and finally, the Batwings. Otter Nimona does the whole Puss in Boots thing with the big eyes, but the guards are more concerned about whether she's a river otter or not. Bal and Ambrosius finally clash, one-on-one, and Ambrosius just refuses to see Bal's side of things. Red flag, folks. Bal disarms him and tosses his sword down to make a point, but that gives, gosh darn it, Todd a chance to jump in. With the help of a whole lot of soldiers, Todd starts the beatdown, but Nimona turns into the cereal dragon for a clutch W. After saving a kid from a speeding car, Nimona transforms into a little girl to calm them down, but the child takes up a nearby sword instead. This is enough to send her over the edge, a full-blown existential crisis. Thankfully, Bal has grown as a person since we started this journey, and he's able to reel her back in. Instead of fleeing over the walls, they double down on exposing the director for who she truly is. Something, they win. But the director isn't going down without a fight. She's doing some crazy research, and suddenly Ambrosius storms in demanding answers. The director likens Bal, a commoner becoming a knight, to a crack in the wall that would one day come crumbling down. She admits to killing the queen via sword swap and then stabs Golden Boy right in his handsome abdomen. He dies and takes his sweet time doing so, making plenty of funny faces on the way down. Seems a bit out of character. Oh, that wasn't the real Ambrosius, was it? Yeah, it was Nimona doing her best knight impression, all while Bal records the director's admission of guilt. Oof. After a game of medieval Monopoly, the video of the director goes viral, and Bal and Nimona have a little shark dance party. The whole kingdom freaks out and starts asking who the real villain is. Right before Ambrosius arrests her though, she finds something quite compelling on a hidden scroll. Bal and Nimona just watch the views roll in, and Nimona finally feels like she has a home. She falls asleep all cozy on the couch, and Bal gets a message requesting nachos from loins_of_gold, all caps. Wonder who that could be. Two knights wearing hoods meet at a medieval sports bar and order nachos. Oh look, it's Bal and Ambrosius. As they talk, a news report goes live featuring the director, who is now weaponizing the fact that Nimona is a shapeshifter. She figured out what's going on, and she's claiming that she's being impersonated, and her tale is turning folks against each other. And wouldn't you know it, she also fooled Ambrosius. The scroll she found features a little girl who looks a whole lot like Nimona inside of the monster, and Glorith taking the beast down. Bal won't accept this and can't believe that his sweetheart would take the director's word over his. As he runs off, Ambrosius declares his love. This doesn't stop Bal, but it does perk up frickin' Todd's ears. That slimy snake. The whole thing with Ambrosius really rattled Bal, who goes back home and confronts his shape-shifting pal about the scroll, just as she was waking up from a comfy pizza nap too. She gets her hackles up and pushes for Bal to call her a monster. As she gets angrier, she grows in size too. This spooks Bal, who partially draws his sword. Nimona sees this and runs off. Now alone, Bal is attacked by stupid Todd, who found the evil secret lair. As a wolf, Nimona rushes through the forest in a froth and eventually comes to a structure that causes her great distress. Time for a flashback. As a bird, she couldn't find a mate. As a fish, she scared off a school. As a deer, she was ditched by the others. But then she found a human, and this human opened their arms to Nimona. But once it was revealed that Nimona was a shapeshifter, the person's community attacked her. A fire breaks out during the panic, and the kid Nimona had bonded with takes up her sword against her and utters the words, "Go back to the shadows from whence you came." Oh, this blonde child was Glorith. Back in the present, staring down the glorious statue of Glorith, Nimona undergoes a new, more terrifying transformation. Back to stupid, idiot Todd, he's beating up Bal and repeating the same ignorant garbage that he's been barfing up this whole time. Before he can ask Bal any real questions though, they're already answered. Nimona, in her new monstrous form, is heading directly towards the city. The rumbling begins and folks start to freak out. Thankfully, that stock ticker is still running and Gloradome Motors isn't doing that bad. Oh, and Polaroid cameras exist here. Good to see that nostalgia for film grain is universal. Nimona makes it to the edge of the city in all of her wispy, monstrous glory, prompting a monster attack alert to go up. Ambrosius leads his men in defending the city, but they mostly just poorly fire RPGs everywhere, causing serious collateral damage. Drone strikes are called in, which is always a good choice in a densely populated area. They know how to differentiate between the good guys and the bad guys, right? Of course, doofus Todd had to show up and tries to play hero, but he's quickly undone simply by seeing how big the threat he's facing truly is. He blows up against a billboard of his own stupid face. Distraught and bedraggled amidst the burning city, Bal watches on as his friend goes on a kaiju rampage. She almost runs out of juice, but she sees a conveniently placed ad for a kids game that encourages monster slaying, which fuels her rage once more. While evacuating people to underground subway tunnels, Ambrosius notices that cannons meant for the outside of the wall are being turned in. You know, the cannons that will kill thousands per blast? The director has no regard for life, right? Gotcha. As Nimona makes her way through the city, it becomes more and more clear that this entire culture is solely focused on killing monsters. Architecture features dragon heads being pierced by swords. Advertisements are all about weapons or things encouraging weapons. There are so many military vehicles ready and waiting to activate at a moment's notice. She always knew that the city hated her and wanted her dead, but until this moment, she truly fought against it. With all of this hatred now focused upon her, it almost seems like too much. She prepares to impale her core upon the Glorith statue's sword, but Bal is there to stop her. He puts his mechanical arm out and holds it near her essence. The kingdom watches on in stunned silence as Bal apologizes, as he says that he sees Nimona, that she's not alone. This is enough to pull her back into human form atop the sword, and the two embrace. Maybe, just maybe, things can be made right. The director doesn't seem to think so though. She sees this as a threat to their way of life and orders the cannons fired. Golden Boy finally sees the truth and stands up for the right thing for once. But he's no match for her secret green laser, which makes another appearance. With the upper hand regained, the director hops into the cannon like Shinji after his dad told him to get in the robot and prepares to fire at will. Bal and Nimona knows what this means, and so does everyone on the ground. Their leader is a raging fascist and is willing to kill to have her worldview justified. Nimona, being the free spirit that she is, zips into Phoenix mode and flies off to go break stuff, just like she always has. This time it's in service of a whole lot more people though. She flies over the crowds, past the ancient mural depicting a power struggle, and right into the enormous gun trained on the very city the director swore to protect. Explosions are exploded, and Bal is left alone in a smoky haze, watching as flecks of red light fall from the sky. Ambrosius finds him in the rubble, and they finally embrace once more. The walls around the city have been destroyed, and for the first time, people of the kingdom can see the pristine world beyond their borders. And it's not the horrifying world they'd been sold by the powers that be. We then jump forward a little bit. Peace has resumed, and Bal and Ambrosius can be all lovey-dovey out in the open. The wall now has some entrances and exits, and plenty of people seem to be using them. Tributes to Nimona and Bal are found all over the city, with an especially heartbreaking one full of kids' drawings specifically for the shapeshifter. Surprisingly, Idiot Todd is here, leaving an offering of his own. Bal takes one of the drawings from the tribute, one that says "We love Nimona," and pins it up in the evil secret lair. The murder wall is now a memory wall. A loud knocking comes to the door, but when Bal opens it, nobody's there. But shapeshifters work in mysterious ways, and Bal almost drops a swear in this PG-rated flick. Roll credits. And that is the story of Nimona. Hopefully she didn't spend too much time back in the darkness from whence she came. So, what did you think? Did you learn anything new about the movie from my breakdown? Notice any fun little references? Let us know down in the comments, and share this with your pals who also love shapeshifting scallywags. Thanks for watching, and remember, Frederator loves you.